Hello, my loves, and welcome back to the Beyond Enough podcast. I'm so excited that you're joining me here today, where at the time of recording, it is the 22nd of December. And I thought I would share my predictions for visibility for business in 2026. And I have a lot to say, as I'm sure you will have guessed, especially when it concerns voice and visibility and how we are going to connect with people going forward. And I'm sure you've seen it go around the internet in recent days that 2025 has been the year of the snake. It has been the year of shedding. It has been the year of letting go of the things that do not serve us anymore. And certainly from conversations from all the women in my world, whether that's clients or colleagues or my wider network, 2025 has been a kicker. It's not been fun for most of us. And although I think we can all agree that there are so many lessons that have been gained throughout this year, and I think I've touched on that on the podcast already, this has been the year of letting go of an awful lot, of releasing so much. The work I have done on my nervous system this year, goodness me, like it has been such an incredible year in terms of what I've been able to achieve despite health problems, despite other challenges in my personal life. And I document it, right? I document it. Most of it's on here on the podcast or on Instagram. If you're not following me there, it's Emily Coaching. But certainly everyone in my world has kind of felt the same, that this has really been a year where the mirror has been held up. And there has no longer been an option to play it small. There's no longer been an option to just stay stagnant. This has been a year where everything has been thrown up for you to deal with. And I do believe that's because next year is the year of the fire horse. So what is the year of the fire horse? It is where we drive towards our goals. It is where we have momentum. It is where we start to really expand and go towards our own version of success, of our own version of what we want from life, from business, from relationships. But 2025 had to happen in order for that to come in, right? Like we had to let go of those things, those people, those places, those clients, those collaborations that were actually out of alignment and weren't serving us and were taking up a huge amount of our time and energy for very little reward. And I see this a lot, I think, with women. And I'm going to get to this because I feel like this is definitely part of what I predict for 2026, especially for business in the online space, for female founders. And the first thing that I predict for next year is that it's been happening already. Okay, this has been happening already and it's been shifting. But I think in a really, really big way, we are going to have to bring so much more depth to everything we're doing, whether that's in the online space or out with the online space when it relates to business. And I think that it is going to impact our relationships and it's going to impact parenting. It's going to impact our lifestyle. And I think that's because there is this overarching feeling of just being burnt out with surface level shit, not just online, but in every area of our life. I feel like there is this feeling that everything has just been teetering on this kind of surface level, aesthetic, brown and beige way of doing things that actually hasn't been really lighting us up. It's all felt a little bit transactional. It's all felt a little bit performative. And so in 2026, I think the founders, the coaches, the businesses that will do much better and will have a much better chance at scaling, of growing and really creating that movement, that impact, will be the ones who are able to bring so much more depth, whether that's on Instagram, whether that's podcasting, whether that's on stage or however else you show up in your business. Even I think with those daily business activities, emails, sales calls, disco calls, I do think that people are now so sick of not getting what they paid for from an online business. I think they are sick of the hype behind some of these brands that have no follow through. And I think people are searching for that depth, something that is actually going to transform the way they think, feel, and move through life. And interestingly, something that I've always very much focused on in my brand and in every interaction that I have, whether that is just a DM with someone that I've just met on Instagram, or whether it's meeting someone at an event for the first time, I'm always just very aware of my interactions with people, because my history, my background is in customer service, it's in legal services, it's in HR. And so I've always been very aware that interactions that you have with people, even if you think it's just a fleeting interaction, can add to your jar or they can remove from your jar. And every action, every decision that we make ripples, okay? So someone you meet at a networking event who you have a positive interaction with may recommend you 3 great clients, right? They may sign, they may be your highest paying client to date. And equally, a negative interaction with someone can cost you clients, can cost you collaborations, can cost you momentum in your business, but also on a personal level, right? With our own relationships, there is always going to be a net positive or net negative on every single decision and interaction that we have with people. And that's not me saying you should people please and always bend to what other people expect from you. That's not what I'm saying here at all. But what I mean is, in every interaction, in every conversation, in every DM, in every interview, in every stage that you stand on, you have an opportunity to increase your reputation, to show people your expertise, to use your voice, to be authentic. And overall, that will either get you closer to your goals or will get you further away, no matter what your goals are, right? And I think there has been this sort of surface level, let's get quick results type, especially in entrepreneurship and business, right? Everyone wants to be more efficient. Everyone wants to spend less time. Everyone wants more results for less input, which I get, right? I get. Like, I'm scaling my business. I want to do less and earn more. Everyone wants that. But I do think for the next year coming, we're going to have to find a way to still bring that depth and to still bring that personal experience if we want our business to continue and to grow and our reputation to have a net positive. Because I think there is this fatigue around this kind of hype, surface level way of doing business. I think people are sick of it, women especially, of not getting the service they paid for. And so I do think that being able to focus not just your visibility, but your containers, your services, even your experience with your customers, if you're product based, will be so important going forward. And again, this goes to your distinction. It goes to how you are distinctive from other people, other businesses, other brands around you that are doing the same thing. And certainly this has always been a distinction point for my business, right? Is that I go deeper than anyone else. And that hasn't always served me well in terms of quick wins, but it has served me well in terms of expanding into other networks, being seen on stages and huge opportunities that may seem illogical to other people. But where I am seen and where I have an impact, that depth has been such that it's really moved people and really connected with people, and has therefore brought me more opportunities, more clients, whatever that may be. And there will always, I think, be a certain amount of payoff when it comes to the depth that we can offer and the time and the cost. These things are all intrinsically linked. But I feel like when you get to the point where you can really use your voice authentically, where you can really show up powerfully where you choose to show up, you are going to be able to condense your results because you're not working so hard and spreading your energy among 100 different things and giving it a surface level tick box, check in the box type thing. You're able to do less and do it really, really well. And so I do think, again, in 2026, there is going to be this shift in focus for personal development that is not just strategic based, but is more to do with being able to use your voice powerfully, to be able to stand on stage and convert quickly, and to really up level who you are as a human being so that you can really make an impact in those places that you choose to show up with way more depth, with way more conviction, and not so much of the fluff, not so much of the self-doubt, not so much of the procrastination. And I think focusing on developing those skills that enable you to show up fully authentically and not waste so much time worrying, panicking, not being able to take opportunities because you don't trust yourself fully, for example, and playing it small. I think that's where we're going to start to see people really peel away, because these are the things that are much harder to do. You know, we can all show up and make a nice Canva graphic, but if you want to spend less time on your visibility and on your business and lead gen, you're going to have to do a little bit more and bring a little bit more depth to it, right? And we all love a Instagram carousel moment, but I think being able to have real power and conviction in your words and really tightening what it is that you're talking about in a way that people really resonate with is going to save you a lot of time. And it's also going to enable people to connect with you on a much deeper level. And I think this is going to be true of not just business, but we have seen a huge shift in women, right? We've seen a huge shift in women and how they're using their voice. And I probably see it more because I do work with women on visibility, on voice, on inner trust, and all these things. But I certainly see still quite a lot of women who really, really struggle to stand up for themselves and to set boundaries and to tell people how they truly feel, and who have so much fear around how they're perceived. They have so much fear of rejection, of being judged, of not getting things right. They have so much imposter syndrome. They have so much fear around really showing up as themselves. And again, we're coming to that point of fatigue where women are like, I can't do this anymore. I can't perform anymore. Nobody knows the real me. And it's lonely and it's exhausting. And so I think for 2026, you're going to see a huge amount of women finally stand in their true power. I think you're really going to start to hear from women that previously have really diluted themselves. And I do think this shift is coming. I think it's happening and it's started, and we certainly see a lot more of it. But there is still a huge amount of women who really struggle. And I work with clients every day on activating their voice. And I think we have this perception that if we get louder and bolder and make bigger claims and hire a really expensive coach, that it's going to solve all of our problems. And this is in 2025 and before, I think we've seen it, but massively in 2025, there just seems to be a sea of similar voices, of kind of copycat energy. And I really, truly hope that 2026 sees the rise of much more authentic visibility. I think it's really easy to duplicate what someone else is doing and not see the results from that, because people pick up on that really very quickly. People can tell if you are being fake, if you are being inauthentic. And I think that most women don't even realize that that's what they're doing. I think they're so used to following the crowd. And I say this with so much love, but I think they're so used to following the crowd that they've never developed their own voice around anything. And it feels so much easier to take a template and plug some of our own words into it than it does to really reach inside ourselves and ask ourselves, where am I playing small? Where am I giving away my power? Where am I diluting how I truly feel and looking for virality off the back of someone else's opinion or way of doing things? And I think people are also really sick of that. I think we're sick of seeing the same old stuff being repeated and repeated and rinsed and repeated. And it feels very samey and it feels very inauthentic. And that is picked up. And that's why when we try and plug and play a strategy, it doesn't yield the results that we want it to, because it's not actually our voice. And at the end of the day, if you're a founder, if you're a driven woman, it is you as a person that is driving forward your brand, your business. And if it isn't coming from you, you're always chasing a new strategy. You're always chasing a new way of doing things. Let me plug in, this person's doing that. Let me try it. Let me try Pinterest. Let me do this. Let me do that. Instead of asking yourself, okay, what's really, truly important to me and my brand? And how do I amplify that? How do I get stronger in that? How do I get more true and more real and create real impact and resonance with everything that I do for my business, instead of just leaping from one thing to the next and never quite getting the results that I know I deserve? And it's because we are felt. We are felt. Our energy is felt. Our energy is the first thing that people pick up on. It's not how you look. It's not how pretty your Canva graphics are. It is the conviction that you bring when you are speaking, when you are writing, when you are showing up for your business in any way, any space, any place. It is your ability to hold a conversation and to drive that conversation rather than being a passenger in every interaction that you have. And this is leadership, right? Our ability to stand as an individual and back ourselves and back our brand and back our business and not have to have someone else tell us what to do and micromanage. It's exhausting. It's exhausting always chasing someone else's way of doing things. When entrepreneurship and being a founder and being a leader is about finding our unique way, our own unique voice in all of this. Again, not just for business, but in your relationships, right? Being able to say to your partner, like, I really love this, or I really don't like this, or saying in a difficult, having a difficult business conversation with someone that hasn't held up their end of the contract, someone who hasn't paid you on time. Like, these are all things that we as business owners need to be able to do in order to move our business forward, in order to say no to a potential client because they don't fit with our programs or services. These are all things that require us to have that really strong sense of identity and to be able to develop our own voice, because guess what? Your coach isn't going to be there every single minute of the day. You're going to have to learn how to handle these situations from an empowered place and from a place where you understand your own value. And certainly if you're in business, next year more than ever, you're going to have to learn how to convey the value of your, not just you as a person, but as of your business and your brand. And I personally think that that's a great thing. I personally think that it's a great thing that we are taking things deeper in the online space. I've had the greatest pleasure over the last year of really deepening my connections with other female founders and other coaches, women from all over the world who are doing just the most incredible things. And putting down deep roots in the right places is the thing that allows you to flourish. I think taking a little bit of extra time and improving the depth of your content, of your conversations, and really being able to show your leadership in those small micro moments when no one is watching will make all the difference in 2026. That depth is going to be the difference between you scaling and growing or you feeling really exhausted and overwhelmed with the rest of the noise that's going to be going on, because there is more and more and more and more noise out there. But in order to distinguish yourself in 2026, you're going to have to bring the depth. And that is really speaking from your heart, from your soul, and developing your unique voice, your authentic voice. And I think that that's very exciting. So you can tell me what your thoughts are on 2026, what your predictions are for business, for visibility. Another thing that I really think we're going to find in 2026 is in-person events are making a resurgence. And I personally love that because I love in-person events. I love networking. I love being in the room with incredible women. And I am quite discerning about where I choose to spend my time. However, I really do think that if especially you are someone who struggles with being confident in conversations and really feeling like your voice is powerful and that you have value in your voice and what you have to say, being able to meet people in person and really practice the skill of presence, of communication is such a game changer. And don't get me wrong, I love the online space. I love the online space. I think I have so many beautiful conversations each and every day in my Telegram, on my Instagram, and I love it. But there is something about being able to develop those skills, especially if you are not confident with real human interaction. And no matter how deep you take an online Zoom room, it doesn't quite match the nuance of being face to face with another human being. And that's again because we pick up on so much more than just voice and the actual words you're saying. Although those are both really important, body language, these small cues, how you hold yourself, like all of these things are influenced by the people that you surround yourself with. So if you start to surround yourself with people who hold themselves with confidence, subconsciously you are learning how to do that. And there's so much more teaching and nuance and things I could share on that. But being in person with other female founders, with other entrepreneurs is going to be something that I think we see a lot more of in 2026. I think again that that's actually a really good thing for deepening connection, not just these surface level conversations, but really being able to develop the skills, not just for sales, not just for conversion, but being able to take it a little bit deeper, because the best content comes from the best conversations. And if you can be face to face with the right kinds of people, so whether that's like your ideal client or people who are doing similar things to you, being able to have those conversations will really allow you to have that clarity and conviction over what it is that you want to say in your messaging and your marketing in the DMs, right? Again, it all comes back to developing that depth. And with that being said, I've talked briefly about relationships and how we're kind of over the surface level and we need more. Bringing more depth into your own life will serve you so well going forward in 2026. And what do I mean by this? I feel like I speak to a lot of women in business who are juggling so many balls. Like, I don't need to even say this because it's kind of almost well acknowledged that we are busy. We are busy, we are doing all the things. But that lack of depth in the things that really, really light us up and constantly being in hustle mode, I think has detached a lot of us from the things that we feel are meaningful and therefore what we're then putting out into the world, right? In terms of like our own creativity and our own interests and our own points of connection with people. And I get it a lot that women say kind of like, well, I'm not interesting. Like, I'm a bit boring. Like, this is what I like to do. And I'm a bit, rah, rah, rah. But I think when you are really busy, especially when you're raising kids and you're running a business and it's all a bit crazy, it's easy to forget the things that we do to light ourselves up. So whether that's like reading, whether it's painting, whether it's music, whether it's sports, like whatever it is, wherever your interests lie, those are the things that actually make us really magnetic and interesting to other people. So if you suddenly drop off all your hobbies and haven't read anything that's interested you, you're literally on Instagram just for business, and even in your evenings, all you're doing is watching Netflix, we start to feel very, very starved in terms of our own depth and our own excitement and our own passions. And that translates, right? Because we then don't feel confident about going into an interaction. Like, you don't want to put yourself in a position where you're asked the question, what did you do at the weekend? Because you feel like you haven't done anything interesting. And this is so nuanced, right? And I know there are so many reasons why that could be the case, but I do see a lot of women not putting themselves out there because they're afraid that people won't find them interesting. So 2026, make it a mission to find things that interest you and to go and do them and to carve out that time. And I know that that sounds easier said than done. But truly, if you're not lighting your soul on fire and doing things that interest you and following your passions, and don't get me wrong, for a long time that was my business and I really had to push myself to develop interests out with that because it really lights me up and I get that. But if you've nothing else to talk about and you've no way of resonating with other people because you're doing nothing other than raising the kids and doing your business, that's going to be really, really difficult. And you're blocking yourself from so much good because you feel like you're not interesting. And this again is another point around storytelling, I think, because a lot of women think, well, I don't have any stories to tell. Like, I'm not interesting. You have so many stories to tell. If I had £1 for every single client that said to me, oh, I'm not very interesting, and their content, like, it's just very plain, there's, very bog standard, very beige. And then I find out they're, the last 20 years they've been climbing Everest and they've been doing this and they've been doing that and they worked in the most crazy, interesting jobs. Girl, why are you not talking about that? There's so much interesting about you. Just because it didn't happen in the last week didn't mean it didn't happen at all. Just because you grew up and had kids doesn't mean that you're suddenly not an interesting person, right? It doesn't strip away everything that you've experienced. It doesn't strip away all of your years of working in corporate, for example. Like, that still happened. And it all has a place in your story. It all has a place in the stories that you tell. So 2026, if we want to feel more interesting, set some time aside to do some things that make you feel interested. And I know it's hard. I know we've all got goals. I know we've all got kids and it's crazy. But prioritize the things that light your soul on fire because they are the things that other people resonate with. Those are the things that get you really excited to show up and to get visible, not just for business, but for everything else that you're driving towards in the year of the fiery horse. So with that being said, I'm going to leave you on that note. I'm hoping to have a Christmas episode for you on Boxing Day, but I hope you've enjoyed my 2026 predictions. You can let me know what else you're predicting for 2026. I already know it's going to be a fantastic year. I've got lots of little things in the works. I'm very excited. And we also kick off the Presents Edit. believe it's the 12th of January. And this is where we really activate your inner voice so that you can get yourself out there into the world and start making shit happen. Okay? We're going for 12 days. It's all in Telegram. It is a stretchy, powerful voice activation because we are going to get you visible as fuck in 2026. Okay? If you want to join us, I'll put the link in the show notes. I'm sending you all the love. And I'm going to spend the rest of the day trying not to be a Grinch and try to get into the Christmas spirit. Okay? Wishing you all the very best, and I'll speak to you guys